How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another Obi-Wan Kenobi review. So today we're going to be talking about Episode 4. Okay. This will probably be a bit of a shorter one because it was a bit more of a simpler episode because basically the plot of the episode was rescuing Leia from the Inquisitor base. That's essentially the plot of the episode. And I will say, I feel like Leia being captured twice, I feel like that's too... I probably wouldn't say too much, but I hope it doesn't happen again. If it happens one more time, then I'm going to be like, alright, this has happened way too much. But at the moment, I think I thought it was fine. I would have been even more fine if it just didn't happen at all, but it was cool seeing Obi-Wan sneaking through the Inquisitor base. That part I did think was pretty cool. I also did like seeing Obi-Wan use his lightsaber a whole lot more, because we really got to see he's getting a little more knowledge back. I do hope they dedicate an actual scene to him, because they do show it a couple times, because when they're on their way to the base, he's practicing trying to use the Force, and it's just not working as much. So at least they're showing that like he's constantly trying. And you can even see him struggle when trying to hold the Rhino together, which... I swear, I'm starting to get so sick of the Star Wars community, though, because everybody's like, well, why is he struggling so bad? Are you not paying attention to any of the show? He's cut himself off from the Force, so he's not going to be as skilled in it. Now, listen, again, I know there's probably some sort of comic out there that is probably debunks some stuff that happens in this show. But I'm looking at it from my point of view, and my point of view is, when it comes to comics, I really don't know a whole lot about Star Wars. Star Wars, I focus on movies and shows. That's it. That's all I focus on. Now, I do focus on some comics here and there, but comics, the main thing I go to when I think about that is Marvel. Because Marvel starts off with comics and then branches into shows and movies. Whereas Star Wars is the opposite. It started off in movies and shows, more so movies, and then went into comics. So I am so sick of the Star Wars community nitpicking every little thing and being like, oh, why has this happened? This was stupid. Anyways, that's just my whole thing. So, it was cool seeing Obi-Wan using his lightsaber a whole lot more in this episode, especially the episode where he's rescuing Leia from the not execution chamber, but from the torture chamber. The lights cut off and he's used the lightsaber on one stormtrooper, turns it off, and then becomes a Predator mission from like an Arkham game, and I think that's hilarious. But yeah, most of the episode is pretty much just basically that. It's them sneaking around and trying to rescue Leia. And that's basically most of the episode. It was cool seeing at the very beginning where both Obi-Wan and Vader are in the tanks healing, and it's cutting between the two of them. And I'm just like, that's really cool. Also, the scene in, I think because Obi-Wan discovers where he's like, oh, this isn't a base, this is practically a tomb, because he's walking by all the different, like, floating bodies, and he's seeing, I didn't recognize a whole lot, but they hovered over a youngling for the longest time, and I was like, yikes. But, yeah, that part was really cool. And then, towards the end, I feel like this episode could have done a little bit better with building up some of the other side characters with the other planet that they were on. Because I didn't think they were the most well developed. One dude was just kind of like, no, you need to get him out of here. Then a minute later, he's like, all right, I'll help you. I was like, okay, that was kind of weird. I will say though, they did have a pretty interesting line where somebody was like, nobody knows what the inside of that was like, because it sort of makes sense why it would be a little bit easy to sneak into, because you have, I can't remember her character's name, that's just because I'm terrible with names, in terms of newer characters, but you had the one character sneaking in, pretending to be an officer, and able to get Obi-Wan in through that way. So that part I actually did kind of like, and then towards the end with two pilots coming in and one of them dying, which I sort of like, it's like, makes it to where not all of them got away. And then also Reva is now hacked, Lola, Leia's droid, and yeah, because at first I was like, because she said she put a tracker on the ship, and I was like, what track are you talking about? Then I saw that and I was like, oh, okay, that does make a lot of sense. Because I could, when I was thinking back on it, I was like, okay, I can sort of see the moment where she would have been able to pull that off. I will say, though, I do kind of wish there were a couple things that I really think this episode should have had. And it's something I really, really hope that they do in one of the later episodes. I really wanted to see a flashback to the Clone Wars era with Hayden and Ewan. I really, really want to see that. I feel like that would be really cool to see because it would give us some more Hayden Christensen. And seeing them in like their Clone Wars outfits, I think would be so cool. But we did not get that this episode, and I kind of wish that we did. But if we get in one of the next two episodes, I think that'll be fine. And I also do wish Reva has, because we've gotten a little bit more of Reva, but I would have liked to have had a lot more of her by this point. So I'm hoping throughout the next two episodes we start getting a lot more from her, because we really still don't know a whole lot about her. And I really, I feel like I would probably be okay with this, but I don't want them to dump all of her exposition, all of her backstory into the final episode. So, I don't know. I hope next episode we learn more about her, because I still think she's a fine character. But we just don't know enough about her, and I feel like by this point we need to know more about her by this point. The very end of the episode, though, I think was really, really cool. The Vader just kind of storms in, and you can tell he's mad, so I was like, ooh. And there were some people that were just like, oh, he storms in just like, oh, you failed me, and then she says one thing, and then he's like, oh, I underestimated you. Yeah, because she said she had a plan. The whole thing they're looking for, she gave them away for finding the place where they want to go. I swear, the toxic Star Wars fans tick me off because they find one tiny nitpick and just don't bother giving it any thought whatsoever. No, I'm not turning this into a rant. And let me, yeah. Because I just want to really quick say, if you don't like the show, that's totally fine. That's the whole thing of the opinion. But I hate seeing people critique it and giving it the stupidest reasons without thinking about it first. Because the people who critique it just for the sake of critiquing are what tick me off. People who genuinely don't like the show just because they personally don't like it, that's totally fine. But anyways, so the whole Vader scene was really cool. Seeing him storm and just seeing he is mad was just so cool. That we got some of him in this episode. Much more of a shorter episode because, well, not shorter episode, but shorter review, because the second time I've done that in the past 5 seconds, the first review was of 2 episodes, so it made sense why it was as long as that was, and then the third episode, there was the most to talk about with that episode because of introducing Vader. Episode 4 definitely isn't as good as episode 3, but I still thought it was good. It's probably, I don't know if I'd say it's my least favorite episode, but I still like the episode. I just don't know if I'd say it's definitely not my favorite. It's not as good as episode 3 in my opinion. But I also would say it's probably it might be my least favorite episode so far, but only by comparison. But again, that's just me. It's still a really good episode that I've really loved, and I'm still excited for what the show will end up doing for its last 2 episodes. I just hope that, because now we're getting towards the end game, there's still some things we don't fully know yet, and it's really starting to worry me. But we'll just have to see. But let me know what you guys thought of episode 4 of Obi-Wan Kenobi down below, and be respectful about it. Again, I'm more of a casual Star Wars fan, I'm only a fan of movies and shows. That's really all I'm into right now. So from my point of view, I'm really liking the show so far. But I can understand from people who've read a bunch of the comics that it wouldn't be as good. But to me personally, I'm really enjoying it. But that's going to do it. Stay tuned for the episode 5 review, and I'll see you later, webheads.